Your potential is none of your business. You've heard it over 1,000, hundreds, thousands, however many times that you have unlimited potential or, the sky is the limit. Every single person around you tells you that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. That success is always going to be within your grasp. But the real thing is that it's so easy to get caught up in the idea of potential that you don't actually act. Potential sounds inspiring, potential sounds like a great thing for you to chase after. But in reality, potential is a trap. And the more you focus on that potential, the further into the trap you fall. And the more you focus on that potential, the further you actually delay your progress. So why, you may be asking? Because obsessing over your potential will keep you in a state of inaction. You're so fixated on the possibility of succeeding that you paralyze yourself. You get stuck in the thought loop of what could happen or what could be, rather than simply what is, what exists. The existential leap that Kierkegaard talks about is, and it's an attempt to push beyond that paralysis and to push into action. And Kierkegaard's existential leap is, one of the things that actually inspired me to making this video. I'm going to explain to you why that this potential and focusing on your potential is so dangerous, and why instead you should be obsessing less over it and simply start acting. It's not about what you could do. Instead, it's about what you will do. The illusion of infinite potential is something that I have to break down. So let me start by breaking down the idea of unlimited potential. On the surface, it sounds like a powerful thing that can motivate you. You can do anything. Who wouldn't want that to be the reality? Who wouldn't want to be the one to hear that? The problem is that this idea is far too abstract. Potential is simply an idea. It's simply a concept, but it's not something tangible that you can physically comprehend. You can spend your whole life talking about what you could achieve, but that doesn't get you any physically or mentally closer to what you actually achieve in real life. The true kicker is that potential doesn't exist until you do something with it. Until you put yourself out there and you start to act upon your dreams, your potential is simply a theory. Your potential is simply potential. It's a nice thought to have in your mind. It's always amazing to believe in yourself. However, it is worthless without action. That is where you begin to start to sabotage yourself. Every single time you think about what you can do or what you could be doing, you're delaying what you're actually going to do. You're delaying what you will do. There's a strange comfort in focusing on potential, which we feel. When you're constantly thinking about the future, about what you want to do or what you could do, you don't have to face the fear of actually trying what's in front of you or actually doing what you have to. It's easy to imagine succeeding because you don't have to face the fear of actually trying. It's so easy to, visualize success because you don't have to risk failure in your imagination. But the second that you take that first step and you put your ideas actually into motion, you open yourself up to the possibility of success and the possibility of failure. The reality of potential is that potential is never guaranteed. You could chase after this potential day by day, but if you never act upon it, your potential will never come to true. You don't know if the things that you want to actually do will come to fruition, no matter how much potential you think you have. The sooner you accept that potential does not lead to success is the sooner you realize that it's not about how much potential you have, but what you do with your potential that actually counts. This brings me to, like I said, the main topic or the main reason I created this video, Soren Kierkegaard's existential leap. Kierkegaard was a 19th century philosopher who he focused a lot on the human experience of anxiety, freedom, and the importance of personal responsibility. In a way, he rejected the idea of an abstract, idealized self that you might become in the future, and instead he emphasized the importance of becoming who you are through action. The existential leap is simply about making a decision to act, even when the future is uncertain and unknown, even when you're afraid. It's about embracing your freedom to choose and moving beyond the paralysis of doubt and fear. It's the moment when you leap from the comfortable idea of potential into the messy, unpredictable reality of action. Here's how, the existential leap works. You could sit around forever, day by day, debating your options, thinking about how much potential you really have. But the reality is that potential doesn't mean anything until you take that leap. Potential doesn't mean anything until you commit to your potential. Once you commit, you will start to act. And once you act, your potential will start to fall into play. Without commitment, all the potential remains theory. All the potential remains a concept in your mind. It's so easy to get caught in a cycle of what could be because it's so much harder to face the cruel and the grueling reality of what is. The existential leap forces you into taking action. It isn't about knowing everything or having the perfect plan or being completely ready to start, because nobody ever will be, or nobody ever does have that knowledge. It's simply about making a choice, taking that leap, and committing to the process of that leap. The process isn't about chasing, the ideal outcome that you're starting to imagine in your mind. Instead, the process is simply about embracing the uncertainty and moving forwards with whatever it is that you have, not what you seek. The paradox is that, by focusing on your potential, you get stuck in making decisions. You get stuck in indecision. You never commit to anything, therefore you don't take that leap. But when you start acting, even imperfect action, you move out of the abstract space of what could be and into the realm of reality and what actually is. It's only by leaping into action that you begin to see what you are truly capable of. The problem with obsessing over your potential is that it keeps you locked in your head, thinking, what if? What if I fail? What if this idea doesn't work? What if I'm not cut out for this? What if I fail? The more you, think about the possibilities and ponder the outcomes that could come, the more paralyzed you become in that fake, that fallacy that you create in your head. It's so easy to imagine yourself doing something absolutely amazing, something incredible, but that fantasy keeps you stuck in that comfort zone. You get hooked on the idea of success without actually doing anything to succeed. This lack of action creates a cycle. The longer you stay in the potential zone and the more you think about what could be, the longer you're going to stay in that same zone, because you're not making action and you're not going towards what you're believing in your mind. It's I kind of fucked up that explanation, but basically you're never breaking through to that real world. So you're keeping yourself in that time loop of thinking about what you're going to do, never doing it, back to thinking, and then it's just like a loop. It's kind of similar to a form of self-sabotage where you protect yourself from failure by never actually trying in the first place. However, the paradox is that in protecting yourself, you limit the potential that you actually have. So the more you think about your potential, the less you actually have, the less potential you actually have. You think that you're saving yourself from failure by not acting, but what you're doing is simply keeping yourself from success, because failure is a part of success. It's part of the path. You avoid the risk of failing in never taking the risk of trying. The more you think about how much potential you actually have, the more you distance yourself from the reality of what you can do right now to succeed. Think about it for a minute, just 1 minute. Think about the fact that the only way to truly know what you're capable of is to start. If you never act, then you will never actually know if that potential that you're making up in your mind is your outcome. If you start now, not tomorrow, not after the next big idea, not next week, not whenever you feel ready, but you start right now, the less you will actually fear. And if you think more about the potential that you have, more you have if you don't act, the more fearful you actually become, therefore you get less done. But like I said, the more you focus on action and actually doing it, the more your potential becomes something real. You cannot control everything. You cannot control the things around you, but instead you can control the choices that you take to get towards where you want to be, the choices that you take of action. So you might be asking, what is the solution to actually break free from this trap of, endless potential? And the answer is fairly simple. I know I've been saying it that this whole video about 1,000 times. If you haven't picked up on it yet, I'll clarify it for you now. Stop focusing on what you could be doing and instead focus on what you will do and start doing it. The only thing that you can control in this life is your action. The more you focus on how to act, the more you focus on, doing things, the less energy you're going to waste on thinking about why you haven't acted yet. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to arrive, or, like a perfect plan to pop up in your mind, or the perfect set of fucking circumstances to exist in your life, simply start. Pick something. Pick your desire to work towards. Pick anything. It doesn't have to be your desire. Anything is better to act towards than what you currently do with this endless loop of thinking about your potential. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect, because in the reality, in truth, it might not be perfect. It might not be the grand vision that you've imagined in your mind, but it is progress. And progress is the way you unlock that potential that you constantly keep thinking about. Every single step that you take takes you closer to understanding what you are actually capable of. The key to realizing that what your potential is to think about it less. It's to stop thinking about it constantly. Instead, you have to put it to work. I'm going to mention Kierkegaard's existential leap again. It's about the willingness to jump, even if you don't have everything figured out. Even if you can't see how far you're jumping, you have to take that leap. Once you leap, once you commit to that action, that is where the true growth will happen. That is where the answers will come to you, because you don't need to have the answers or to be perfect. What you need is the courage to take action, even when the path ahead is unclear. Because once you take that action, like I said, the answers will come to you. Everything will start to fall into place and it will make sense. It doesn't matter if you're failing once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, however many times. Just start. Your potential is simply only as powerful as the action you take with it. The more you focus on your potential, the less you'll actually achieve. But once you focus on what you can do right now, today, not tomorrow, not next week, you will start to make real progress. Potential, in the end, is simply a concept until you act upon it. It's only through it's only through action that your potential becomes a reality. So stop obsessing over what could be. Simply act now. The future will unfold as a result of the choices that you make today. By leaping into action, just as Kierkegaard said to, you unlock not only your potential, which you keep chasing over and over, but instead you unlock your true self. Your potential is not simply a theory or a theoretical idea. It is what you are actually doing right now. So take the first step and leap into the unknown. Your future self will thank you.